I think Craig has joined us.
Yeah.
Research.
Yep, there he is.
Hi, Craig. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
There he is.
Sorry.
And Danny is here with me in the room, guys. Heather's getting him set up right now. So Danny's
Oh,
here.
okay.
I never thought this would be my first official meeting.
I tell you what, I'm gonna blame all this chaos on. I mean, Craig, I'm glad you're here, but I'm gonna blame all this on Scott Hart. As soon as he leaves the board, everything falls apart. I tell you
Everything
what.
falls apart.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
No, I like the foam finger. Nice touch.
I like that. Yeah.
You like the what?
I got my.
Oh, how cute. I didn't see that. I must have looked away.
Okay, Alex, it's showing someone that's waiting to admit, but it's a bunch of letters. It's on a.
There's Tyler.
Hey, Dr. Nelson.
Hello.
Okay, so there's letters that have popped up, but I don't recognize it. I'm going to text Kim and see if it's her.
That happened yesterday when we were doing our Zoom. One of them had letters. They never got on either.
Are we gonna have everybody?
I think so. I haven't heard that Kim couldn't be here, and Danny's here with me. So,
Oh. Are you breaking things, Scott?
Yeah, I was trying to do some rearranging and it backfired, but
Your camera's
okay.
on.
Yeah, it's all good. All good, all good, all good. I'm back, sort of.
okay, so this is Kim. So, okay.
Kim is on.
Mhm.
I don't see her. There she
There she
is.
is.
Oh, she's got numbers.
I borrow your laptop.
Yes.
The live stream's not going.
Okay, so the live stream's not going, so Alex is going to have to work for a second.
Everybody's family well?
We're doing okay.
So far.
Good.
Okay, I think I can y'all hear me now?
Going, so
Yes,
Alex is going to have to work for a second, guys.
Yeah, we've been getting for the last 2 weeks, pretty much not going out at all. So I've gotten lots of stuff done.
I sent a text to Kristen.
I'm just waiting for the end of log so I can.
I haven't been out of the city limits of Bryant in 3.5 weeks.
Oh my, well, I haven't either. Well, now I have. We Mike and I take a little car ride out to Lindsay's. She's building a new house out in North Shore. So we drive out there and walk through the house and see how much progress they're making. So that's about it. Make a trip by Dairy Queen on the way home.
Okay, guys, so I think that we're live right now. We're streaming on YouTube. I think they're getting Danny on right now. Give us.
Where's Ben?
Oh, Ben. No, that's right.
Yeah, Ben.
I was counting myself when I was counting members. Oh, wait, I think this is him.
This is probably me trying to get on.
Okay, so I just added Heather and I think Ben.
Heather will be.
Heather, it's going to say Heather, but it's going to be Danny.
There he is.
There's Heather. Oh, there's Danny. Yeah. Ben must be the iPhone.
Hey, Ben, can you hear us?
Oh, that's not Ben.
That's John. Hi,
There's
John.
John.
Oh, yeah, that's John. Well, Ben's the techie one.
Let me,
He may have forgotten.
So he says.
hey, John, can you hear us? It says he's connecting to audio.
I hear something.
There he is.
There he is.
All
All
right,
right,
there we go.
Okay, John, we're waiting to see if Ben's going to join us. I think he's our last one we're waiting on.
Okay.
I'm gonna get motion sick watching John.
Hey, I
Driving
can
around.
stop. I can stop if I need to.
I'm just
That would be the safest, John.
you just can't text and drive. You can Zoom and drive apparently.
You can zoom and drive.
No law against that.
No law. Hands free. Both hands
That's
are
right. Scott, you're quiet.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out. I don't want to break anything in my office, so I'm trying not to move.
Tyler, you guys been busy?
No, not really. We
Really?
saw. I think I saw 7 today.
Wow.
Not real busy. People aren't really wanting to come in unless they really need to, which is fine.
Yeah, well, that's what they should do.
Are you doing telemedicine at all?
I did 4 today,
Gotcha.
so some. Haven't done any video yet. It's all been just on the phone. We have Zoom, but a lot of our patients don't know what that is and don't want to try it. So
So you're just doing FaceTime?
no, we're just straight telephone
Oh,
on
okay.
most of them. I haven't done any video on anybody yet.
Mike had to, it's been about 2 weeks ago, and he had to, well, I won't go into it, but he did FaceTime with the doctor. And that worked pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben says he's joining now. Okay, admit Ben, and that should be all of us. We look like the Brady Bunch, guys. We get that other square, and now we're the Brady Bunch.
There we are.
There we go.
There's Ben.
There you go, Ben. You're late, but that's okay.
All right, we ready to start, Karen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I'll call this special meeting to order at 5:35. All members are present. We are meeting remotely through Zoom. Dr. Walters?
Yes, ma'am. We only have 2 agenda items tonight for vote, and given the announcement Governor Hutchinson made today about school, I thought we might just kind of talk about update on that. But first of all, our 2 items are HVAC projects, and I'm afraid to move my screen. Is Bethel or Bryant Middle School first? I'm sorry. Bryant Middle School. Okay. So Bryant Middle School HVAC is the first project. If you guys remember back in the fall when we were first started talking about doing second lien bonds, and then when we made the decision to do some safe, warm, and dry projects, these were 2 of the projects that we said that needed to happen pretty quickly. And even though Bethel Middle School is not very old and that HVAC system is not that old, if you remember, that was one of the first leads buildings in
Right.
the state, and we've had issues with that ever since it was open.
Since day one.
Yes, since day one, from what Mr. Paget says.
That's
So,
right.
but Bryant Middle School, we actually had 2 bids for that. The document that you have, the attachment on eBoard, it has the bid tabulation sheet, and it also has the complete bid from Middleton, who was the low bidder for this project. So the way we bid that, there was some deductive alternates, and the recommendation to you tonight is that we are not going to accept the deduct alternate 1, but we will accept deduct alternate 2. So
That's different. That's
Yeah.
different than the motion. Yeah, as I look at the agenda on the motion, it
sorry.
says we'll accept one and reject two.
I think I said
Right.
it. I think I said it backwards, didn't I, John?
You did.
I said it backwards.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Walsh. Yes, it is right on the agenda. So, so we're accepting deduct alternate, that same that so we're going to deduct that. We're going to accept that deduct alternate, but we're not
Right.
gonna accept the second one. So it's on there, right? I just said it backwards.
So what are those? The deductions?
So John, I'm gonna let you explain the detail about that.
Okay, so the whole middle school project is split into really three parts. The main portion is the main building, the two-story building there facing the south. And then there's the older portion that links up directly to the cafeteria for the elementary school. And then there's the PE building, band building across the drive. Okay, so deductive alternate number one is the older portion there that links up directly with the elementary school, and deductive alternate number two is the building, the metal building across the drive.
So we're not going to do the part that links up to the elementary school.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and and Karen, you may want to speak more into that, but when the elementary school project comes around, both sides there, the older portion of the middle school plus the elementary school, they're real similar, and so that scope of work could be kind of pushed to another phase.
Yes, and also, excuse me, Dr. Nelson, I don't think, and John can correct me if I say this wrong, I don't think it was ever the intent that we were actually going to do that. While we were bidding this, though, we wanted to see, what that would cost, to kind of have ideas, so that if we do have that with the elementary, and, if by some miracle bids came in really low, might look at going ahead to include that scope for this project. But I don't think from the beginning we actually thought that we would do that part.
Right.
Is that correct, John?
That is, it's kind of, we scrambled there at the end to get it on there, so we could see what the number would be.
Right. I understand.
Are there any other questions about Bryant Middle School's bid?
We okay with that then? This is an action item. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the low bid for the Bryant Middle School HVAC project from Middleton in the amount of $1,042,006, which is the base bid, accepting deduct alternate one, but rejecting deduct alternate two.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Scott? Okay. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Nelson and a second by Dr. Walsh to approve the low bid for the Bryant Middle School HVAC project from Middleton in the amount of $1,042,006, which is the base bid, accepting deduct alternate one, but rejecting deduct alternate two. All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, the next one.
So the next item is Bethel Middle School HVAC, and this one had a little bit more bugs throughout this process, I will say. We actually did it for the first time probably about a month ago, and there was an issue. The person that had the low bid, there was some mistakes, and so they withdrew their bid. When that happened, the other two bids that we had at that time, they were considerably higher than what we had estimated. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board. John and his team worked to make some revisions, and we put that out for bid, and those bids actually came in this past Thursday. And we had two bids for this project, the second time. And the low bidder was a company called Robertson's Heat and Air. They're out of Searcy. I I'm not familiar with this company. John and his team have vetted them. We've asked for references. We've asked for, other projects that are at least this size or bigger that they have completed. One of my old bosses is former superintendent at Cersei. I called him, to see who he knew that knew them. And the information that we've received has all been very positive. So again, the tabulation sheet is there on the attachment. You can see the difference in the two prices. And the bid for the low bidder, Robertson, is the full bid is also attached to that as well.
Okay, are there any questions of Dr. Walters or John?
Hey, John, this was significantly higher than the estimates. Can you explain that?
Well, I'm not sure where the estimates, where exactly they came from. I know that the scope of work is pretty intense as far as the fresh air and really changing that unit, adding tonnage to that unit, really fixing some things that should have been there originally. And so the lion's share of that scope is the fresh air component and the VRF system. The deductive alternate was kind of small for that one with just split systems, but
So the estimate for both projects, guys, actually came from oh my goodness, the commissioning company that we used for some of our new construction. They've been bought out. I can't remember their name now. It used to be Empirical was the name of the company, but that's who we use for commissioning for Parkway Elementary and for the junior high. So they were the ones that first did that work and kind of went through a scope of work on what needed to happen at Bethel. And I think it was one of those things that because of all the issues and because of the lead design, I think maybe the scope of work was a little bit more than what they first thought.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
And John, is that right? Empirical, wasn't that the name of the commissioning company?
no, I think it's Harrison Energy Partners now, right?
Okay, that's it now. Okay, Mr. Sellers just said EES is the name of the company now.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right, this is an action item.
I'll make a motion to approve the low bid for Bethel Middle School HVAC project from Robinson Heat and Air in the amount of $1,245,000, which is the base bid. Deductive alternate one is not to be accepted.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Leone and a second by Mr. Llewellyn to approve the low bid for the Bethel Middle School HVAC project from Robertson Heat and Air in the amount of $1,245,000, which is the base bid. Deduct alternate one was not accepted. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Pass 7-0. All right, Dr. Walters, do you want to bring us an update on what's been going on before
Sure.
we adjourn?
John's probably not interested in this, so if you want to hop off now, we'll understand, John. Thank you for being
Sure.
See you,
Thanks,
John.
John.
Drive careful.
Hi, John.
Everybody have a good night.
You too.
Stay well.
So I'm sure everyone has heard the governor's announcement today. We are totally online learning through the end of the school year, which for us is May 22nd. We had already pretty much planned for that. We had been moving in that direction. We felt like that was coming, and so our curriculum folks, our teachers, they're, like I said, they've been working towards that. We have some decisions that we're going to need to make pretty quickly. I know we've had a lot of parents asking about, graduation. I don't know if that's something we want to wait for, 2 or 3 more weeks to see how things will ease up. I was talking to someone earlier and Simmons Arena has told us that if we don't take that day, they don't have another date for us to be able to get everyone in. We've talked about doing several sessions, like on a Saturday, bringing, small, chunking up the class and not doing it all at one time, having smaller numbers. The issue that we're having is that I don't feel like we're going to go from total lockdown the way we are now to having large groups of people like we're talking about in a room together. I think as we go through this process, I think we're going to have gradual release where, it'll be a little bit at a time that we get back. But so I also, I just don't know what that's going to look like. We have talked about an online graduation. We've talked about videoing our student speakers that we would normally have if we were at Simmons Arena. We talked about having the file that we have from Life Touch, where it has pictures of all of our seniors in their cap and gowns. So we could at least call their names and have their picture up on the screen. If we did something like that, we could do it on a Saturday. They had already ordered their caps and gowns, and so we could do a delivery of their caps and gowns, similar to what we did the Chromebook distribution last week, where they stay in their cars, but we hand those out. They could have their caps and gowns on at their homes with their family. It would just be their family, but at least they would get to have something with their family members if we do the online. So we have not had a chance to talk today since that final decision was made. The next couple of days, I'll sit down with the high school staff, but these are just some of the options I know that they've talked about. One of the concerns that we have is, if we wait until end of July, or beginning of August for graduation, we're worried about how many students will still be around at that time. We worry about the participation. So I don't know. I think those are just all some considerations that we've kind of talked through. I know there's a lot of parents that are very, very upset. I understand this is a huge milestone for their kids, and right now I don't know that there's a good solution. I think we may just have to come up with what we can do. Y'all have any thoughts on that?
I mean, my only thought is that I think we need to, I don't know, maybe put off the decision as long as we're able to, just since they've lost all their sporting events and their prom and their everything else. You hate to lose that if there's any chance of having an actual graduation. But again, I don't think it's going to be any time before June at the very earliest that we would be able to do it, if even by then.
If we couldn't do Simmons, where would we do it? We have, years ago, we did it at the football field.
Well, and that's going to be a problem this year because of the construction that's going.
Oh yeah, the turf. Yeah.
So,
not well possible.
I just can't imagine Simmons is really booked up.
That's
I know that's
I
what they're
said,
saying,
Tyler.
but
I
find it
have-
hard to believe.
especially on a, we were doing on a weeknight before. I can see maybe the weekends it would be, but I can't imagine that there's not a Monday night like we were going to do originally, even later, if we had to do it on a Monday night.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bunch of performers knocking at the door trying to book it up right now.
That's what I thought as well.
What kind of deposit or what kind of financial commitment are we in with them, and when's the deadline to get out of that, get money back, or can we get money back?
I don't think there's been any type of deposit, so we won't lose any money on that.
Okay.
They'll just let us out of the contract because of the circumstances.
Yes. Yes.
So feasibly, I mean, obviously, I'm not suggesting we wait till 2 days before, but we're not on the hook. I mean, I agree that I don't see a mass gathering of 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people happening in the month of May. And I definitely understand that if we push it into June and beyond, and we're going to lose a good chunk of the students that are going to be moving on to the next phase of their life. I don't know. I'm torn. Part of me, like was mentioned, would love to offer these seniors a physical graduation walk across the stage because they've lost so much other stuff. But I do understand that if we wait, which we have to until that's okay in society, we may only have 50% of them there anyway.
And I'm not sure really if we would have, we might, but there's really nowhere for anybody to go right now. So I'm not really sure if even if we are able to do it sometime in June, that the majority of them won't come back for that, at least if they're gone at all. They may still be here, but since they missed so much stuff, I think they would all make an effort to be here, I would think.
And I think if we can do it in June, we feel better about that. I think it's when it gets out much further than that.
Yeah.
I think is more the concern.
But you don't know whether we could do, Simmons has said no, right?
Well, I need to do some more digging into that because the no may have been on a weekend. So
Okay.
let me do some more digging. And I agree that weekends are best. If families are coming in, it's difficult when we have it, on a weeknight.
But
So
that's when we have it.
yeah.
Well, we have in the past.
Yes. And we could talk to Jack Stevens. Jack Stevens is not big enough, but if we, don't do the whole
Limit.
class at one time, and I know I had a niece that graduated from a school in one part of the state. They did not have a facility in town. They did it at the football field, but if it rained, then they went to the community college in town. But it still wasn't that big, and so they had to limit tickets.
Right. And you can do that.
You can, each family get X amount of tickets. We might have to do something like that.
And that's not that uncommon.
Could spread around War Memorial.
Well, we used to do it at War Memorial. We used to do it at Barton Coliseum. Did you look into that, Karen?
I looked into Barton probably 2 years ago, and it's one of those things. It was going to be very tight when we looked at the attendance we had for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It was, we could fit, but it was going to be tight, and we worried that as we grew, it would not work for us. But we can check on that for this year as an option. If Simmons says no, that they can't, we could check with Barton.
Well, I think that would be the thing to see if we could do it in June sometimes. If we're still I don't know whether we're going to be able to congregate then or not like that. Time will tell.
And we can kind of be planning for plan A and plan B. I think we'll know by the first week of May whether or not, even in June, we would be able to have a large gathering. So, maybe we put out there. So this is our plan A, that we do this in June, and we come up with how we can have it, where it's a physical graduation. And, as it gets closer, then if we see that is probably not going to happen, that way people kind of have both dates in mind, and kind of put those on their calendar. I don't know if y'all got to watch the press conference today, but Secretary Key actually talked about graduations, so they're being asked about that. And he did not give an answer except to say it will be up to the Department of Health and their recommendations.
Right.
So I think we can talk about, what we can do, but we all know that, until it gets closer to time, it's just going to be what we're told, basically. So.
Well, I think you probably need plan B on the virtual or something like that.
Okay.
Kind of what that would look like.
I'll meet with our high school team, and we'll try to get some things going. So any other questions? I forwarded an email to all of you that we sent out district wide today. We are really struggling on getting hotspots. We ordered them weeks ago. We had a small portion that shipped today. from Verizon, we actually have 700 cell phones that we've had since Friday. We got from AT&T. We thought we would be able to use them as hotspots. The phones were actually free, and we were just going to have to pay for the service for the 2 months. The phones are not working like we thought that they would. There's personnel from AT&T that actually came on site today to work with our tech department, trying to figure out what the issues were. When the hotspot comes on the phone, it turns off the filtering. And that is not something that we cannot give a student a device that we're not able to filter. We'll be in all kinds of trouble with our E-rate money, and just lots of bad things would happen from that. So we have plan A, B, C, and D actually when it comes to hotspots. I was telling Dr. Walsh and Ms. Porter before we got started, I'm dreaming every night about hotspots. This has been going on for some time now. So hopefully we can get this worked out in the next week. We did send out information last week. We have internet available at 6 of our campuses. We sent out the map of, in the parking lot where you could be. There are a lot of districts that is all that they're doing, is just having spots available where you can come up and use the internet. I don't see that as a long-term solution for now as many weeks as we're going to be doing this. I mean, in a bind, if you have to come sit in your car and do your work, I just don't want that to be our only solution that we have for our families. And so we're going to try to get those hotspots in their hands just as soon as we possibly can.
What is, I've heard some, I don't know how true it is, some rumors, I guess, that there's some districts that really aren't able to do anything as far as online teaching, and that large part of the population doesn't have internet or any of those kind of things. I mean, is there discussions at all about what they're gonna do statewide? Or they just, not finish the year? Or, what other options are there gonna be?
So what the secretary talked about that today, in a lot of the smaller rural schools, I think are having difficulty, and a lot of it is broadband issues. The communities just don't have the broadband. So they're doing a lot of paper packets. The problems that we have with paper packets, and I'm not saying that we're not going to not do any, because even with hotspots, the hotspot only works where there's cell service. So if we have some areas where they don't have cell service, they don't have cable there, that, there are no options. So we may have a small number of families that we have to do paper packets. The issue with that is it's a much more delayed feedback system because of, the guidance that's out there right now. We can get papers from them, but we're not supposed to touch them for 3 to 4 days. Because the virus can live that long. And so it's not the best way to deliver services. Am I telling you we may not do that? Will we have to do that with some families? The answer is yes, we may have to, but we're going to do everything humanly possible. We want to have some Verizon, some AT&T hotspots, because there are some areas that one works and one doesn't. So, if we give them a hotspot and they say it's not working, we can give them the other option and hopefully it will work. So.
And grade wise, still going to be, is it up to the teacher, or is a lot of it going to be participation based stuff? It's going to be hard to grade.
So secondary is still trying to, secondary is doing just their core classes for a grade, but they're still taking grades on that. We've talked to the teachers about, flexibility and about grace. I think that they all know that we're building this plane in the air, and that, if someone says, I didn't get this finished because, we couldn't get our internet to work. And I'm just going to tell you guys, as we all move and everybody's home all day and 4 kids are online at the same time, I'm worried. I know what it's been at my house since this process started. It's really slowed down. And so, we may have some issues, and I feel very strongly that our teachers will, be understanding of that. I'll put it this way, there's not anybody that's going to get a bad grade if if we see at all that, that they've made effort, if they're reaching out to us, we're going to work with them so that that doesn't happen. Now, I will tell you this, elementary is standards-based report cards. They are not going to be able to do enough assessments for 4th 9 weeks that we feel like they can give, the normal standards-based report card. But what we're going to do is they are going to give feedback to parents. So the essential standards that we've chosen for instruction for this 4th 9 weeks of online learning, excuse me, they'll give parents feedback. They'll give, parents of those students in those grades, they will provide them feedback on how they're doing on that standard. If they feel like they've mastered it, if they need some more work, it'll just be more of a feedback process. But, they don't do grades K through 5 anyway. It's always just been standards based. Any other questions about how things are going for closure? We started a new work schedule for our employees who physically come onto campus today. We're doing staggered schedules, like for instance, at the elementary campuses, either the principal or the assistant principal, one of them is there and the other one is working from home. They have 2 building secretaries and one of them is working at a time. I will be at the office every day. Maintenance, those folks are still here, and our food service people are also on a staggered schedule. We have some people that are coming in to prepare food, and then we have some of our food service workers that are riding the buses. So we're delivering the food now on our buses, and I believe it's 3 food service workers that are riding each bus. We've spaced them out so that when the bus stops, they have a portable table that they get out, and so we can safely get those to students without, handling them and our food service workers being around people. It takes about 3 people for us to get that done at each bus stop. We're trying to find something for everyone to do, trying to keep people working. It's, and we've got some folks that are scared, and I understand that. But we're trying to do everything that we can to make sure we're following the guidance, that we're social distancing, things like that.
One last question in regards to the therapist. I understand their workload's pretty heavy because they're having to do more than they usually do just because of no groups and all that kind of stuff. Is there any, and a lot of them, I've talked to a couple, and obviously they're trying to do their schoolwork with their kids at home too, and that kind of stuff, but having to work 5 or 6 hours a day doing therapy. And is there something in line for that to kind of help relieve some of that or not?
So our speech pathologists probably have the heaviest schedules, just because they in a normal school day, they see their caseloads are the highest. So we have reached out to an external provider to see if we can get some additional therapists to come in and help take up some of the slack. They've got to get their schedules in so we can kind of see, how many students they have. There are actually some of our families that actually are not interested in doing the teletherapy. And so they're opting out. And so we're trying to get those schedules so we can see. So their normal caseload, if we were here, Dr. Nelson, they would have this many kids, but they may not through teletherapy, if that makes a difference.
Okay.
So once we have all those once they've submitted all of those, then we're going to rearrange. If one therapist, has 20 kids and this other therapist has 40, then we're going to even those things out. And we are trying to bring in some, like I said, some outside purchase service to help take some of that load.
Okay.
I do have a question. I know that we're doing core for secondary. Why are we not doing anything in regards to the arts, music, band, PE, etc.? I know, like, one of the football coaches sent my son a schedule of what to be doing. I mean, at least something like that.
Yes, and they are doing that. They're doing that, Kim, and Fridays is kind of the day that they're calling it RTI electives day, because they're doing that AB schedule, like at the high school. Well, actually, I say high school, all secondaries doing, like today was English language arts and social studies, and tomorrow will be math and science. So they're doing a Monday, Wednesday, a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And Friday, they're having some of those activities. But if they're like in the extracurricular, I know we have coaches that are sending workouts to their kids that they, things that they can do at home. They can do that. It's just that we couldn't carry on like it was a normal class. You can't do online learning the way you do at school because we can't have them in front of the computer, from 8 to 3:30. And then also we needed to pair up teachers to work in teams, because if I have 145 geometry students, it's going to be real difficult for me to make sure, okay, who's opening Google Classroom, who's not. And so we want them to work together. And we also want our elective teachers, if I teach art and I'm teamed with a math teacher, we want them to give that math teacher some activities that they can do that are math activities, but art related. But our elective teachers, we want them to send activities. I had an email from a parent that one of our art teachers had sent just a neat activity for them to do. Their child is, art is something that they care very much about. And so they were doing those activities. So I don't see our students doing all the elective activities that are out there. I see it more as this is my interest. And so I'm going to do these activities. And that's kind of what we had in mind. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I wasn't so much worried that it was for a grade. I just wanted to make sure that we were offering things and, band all across the board, choir, all across the board. I know I heard one of the elementary parents say that they had PE, some exercise to do through PE. And I just think that's really important for us to try to give the kids the whole experience and not just the core subjects, which are super duper important. But I just wanted to make sure we were offering a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we are. And also, I think I've looked at a lot of documents lately, Kim, so don't hold me to this, but I think both elementary and secondary on their documents that they share with parents, they've got other resources. And like one of the things that comes to mind is there's a coding website. So our kids that are interested, in coding. So I think that they've tried to put those things on there, but like I said, I think it's more like a menu for them rather than we don't want it to be seen as you have to do all of these things.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I get it. Thank you so much for clarification.
You bet.
What about the AP, people that are in AP electives right now, like computer science or AP Spanish or AP, what are we doing with those since they're 3/4 of the way through?
So if it is a concurrent class, secondary sent out guidance that all concurrent classes, they will continue on with those classes until Henderson tells us their last day is. And I think they're planning on going until their normal schedule, Dr. Nelson, is the last word that I got from them. But that's kind of a moving target. Things are kind of fluid right now. But the conversation that Dr. Dissinger had with Dr. Benton last week from Henderson is that they had planned on doing what we're doing and finishing out the semester, but just online learning. And so those students have all been informed that, for them to get their concurrent credit, they have to, follow the guidelines of the institution. So.
And what about the APs that aren't concurrent though? Because I know 9th grade, like AP Computer Science isn't concurrent.
Yes, they will continue with those classes, and AP put out guidance on Friday that they're going to let them take their AP test at home. I think it's going to be an abbreviated version from what I understand. I don't think it will be the full test, but they are going to allow them. They haven't given us all the ins and outs of that, but we do know that they're going to let them test from home.
So those students still need to look on Google Classroom for the AP, even if it's an elective type class.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you all for Zooming. I look for our regular April meeting, which will be a week from Thursday, to probably do it the same way. I will probably mail you some paper packets to make it easier. I know when you're on the screen like this, it's hard to look at eBoard and the agenda. So we will mail you some paper items to make it easier for you as we go through the agenda, since we'll have more items than what we had tonight. So.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.